Hey guys, Jason here. Today we're going to talk about money laundering and the Mafia. Now since the 1780s, there is evidence of the Ndrangheta clans in police reports and sentences by local courts. Nowadays, this Mafia family is actually one of the most powerful in all of Italy. They began in the small area of Calabria in Italy and have expanded to a global empire. Now we've all heard of the Mafia and seen the depictions in everything from movies like Godfather to Carlito's Way to too many songs to count. But right now, this Mafia is facing one of the largest trials in decades, one that has already pulled in politicians, police officers, business owners, and even low-level operators. Now, I'm going to give you a background on the Mafia that moves more money than McDonald's and Deutsche Bank combined, how they rose to power, the financial influence they have, and what's happening with the lawsuit. But before I continue, I do have an offer you can't refuse. And that's an offer to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. You know you want to. Alright, once you do that, click the subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications. Now, quick disclaimer, I know I talk fast and at times don't do the best at pronouncing words. So I'm positive that I'm butchering the pronunciation of the name Ndrangheta, and I apologize. I'll do my best, but I'm sure during this video, at times it'll just sound horrible. Just a quick disclaimer. Back to the Mafia updates. Now, this Mafia family is a real life example of what most Mafia movies proclaim. You have to be born into the family. This makes it very reliable because there are few turncoats. The highest possible level is the Padrino, followed by the Quartino, Tre Quartino, Vangelo, and Santa. Not that Santa that comes every December 25th. Now, the close-knit nature of this family is one of the reasons why Colombian and Mexican drug producers have used them almost exclusively to sell heroin and later cocaine throughout Europe. Now, in the early years, the organization's members operated mainly as robbers, before expanding into smuggling, extortion, and abduction. Now, one of the most famous of its hundreds of kidnappings was that of J. Paul Getty III in 1973. Now, if you haven't seen the movie on J. Paul Getty, it's called All the Money in the World, and I highly recommend it. Spoiler alert though, because while the movie focuses on the life and the outrageous fortune of J. Paul Getty, a central plot point is the kidnapping of Getty's grandson. Now, the Mafia family were the ones behind the kidnapping, and at first they demanded $17 million. Getty was notoriously cheap and only agreed to $2.3 million because that's the highest he could pay and write it off. The dad had to come up with the rest of the money. That's just extra level of cheapness. But back to the Mafia. Now, the size of this family is pretty crazy. The Italian authorities estimate that there are about 20,000 members around the world. But its true makeup and wealth are difficult to establish because they keep things very secret. And unless you're family and in the upper echelons, you won't know. Now, this family is so deadly and destructive that in 2014, on a visit to Calabria, the Pope at the time, Pope Francis, called on Catholics to fight against this Mafia family, declaring the group excommunicated. Now, in a country where the Pope is pretty highly revered, for him to take a step and call them out is a huge deal. Former FBI Director Christopher Wray stated that this Mafia family is 1 trillion times more powerful and influential than the Italian-American Mafia could ever dream of becoming. They are far, far more powerful, influential, and dangerous than the Italian-American Mafia was even at their peak. Now, I'll give you a quick background of the case. So, on trial are 355 suspected mobsters and corrupt officials who were charged following a years-long inquiry into this Mafia family group. Now, in a case this large, more than 900 witnesses are expected to give evidence via verbal or written testimony. The charges facing them include murder, drug trafficking, extortion, and my personal favorite, money laundering. Now, the trial began this past January and is expected to last more than 2 years. The case is taking place in a specially modified building in the southern region of Calabria, which is at the heart of the Mafia family territory. Now, imagine a case so big that they had to convert what used to be a call center into a courtroom. Not only for the defendants, but also for their supporters. That's how big this case is going to be. And no Mafia trial has been held in Italy on such a scale since the 1980s. Now, you may be asking yourself, how rich are they? What is their power and influence? Well, this Mafia family is notoriously ruthless and has surpassed Sicily's Costa Nostra and the Naples-based Camorra to operate on all continents thanks to the wealth it has amassed as the principal importer, as I said again, and wholesaler of cocaine produced in Latin America and smuggled into Europe via North Africa and southern Italy, where they happen to have a significant foothold. Now, in Italy, the Mafia family sells cocaine to other crime groups because selling it themselves on the street causes too much exposure. They sell the drugs often to Albanian or Nigerian gangs who in turn sell it on the street. Now, what also sets the Ndrangheta apart is that they have expanded into sources of revenue that's not common for criminal gangs. For example, they've strong-armed their way into claiming lucrative land subsidies. So the way that works is this. The Mafia family leased land that was put up for sale by the EU government. Now, EU farm subsidies are based on possession of land rather than production, so the criminal gangs rarely bother to farm. The Mafia would just claim subsidies that should have went to farmers who would have actually farmed the land. But they didn't stop there. They thought, why not claim subsidies on land that doesn't even really exist or isn't owned by us? So the Mafia made applications for land not actually owned or leased by them, including a plot owned by the Catholic Church and another one in which a railway had been built. Now, a 2013 study estimated that its wealth of the Mafia family was more than that of McDonald's and Deutsche Bank combined, with an annual turnover of $44 billion. Now, in 2015, police actually seized assets worth $1.4 billion from this family, which included more than 1,500 betting shops, 82 online gambling sites, and almost 60 companies. What I really found interesting during my research is how the family infiltrated the financial system and stole millions of dollars from the country's public health budget. From 2015 to 2018, hundreds of millions of euros of invoices signed off by officials in Calabria's municipal health authorities were actually later purchased by intermediaries. Now, these middlemen bought the unpaid invoices from suppliers at a steep discount because they were in effect guaranteed by the Italian state, which makes them appear low risk and a good buy for investors. These invoices were then sold onto specialist financial companies who merged them into pools of assets and sold investor bonds backed by the unpaid bills. Now, this practice in and of itself is not uncommon. Many legitimate companies in Italy have used this process to offload their debts owed to them by regional health authorities. They get the money up front, and the investors are in for a safe, reliable return over time. However, this Mafia family, the Ndrangheta, again, I probably pronounced it wrong, they included a complex system with multiple intermediaries, which left the process ripe for organized crime involvement. Right, the end parties who purchased these debt instruments backed by was essentially organized crime, included hedge funds and various family offices. Now, one example, according to Financial Times, of how money tainted by this Mafia family ended up in the legitimate international financial sector is via a so-called special purpose vehicle that was named Chiron. It was in May of 2017. Now, this was one of numerous such entities established by companies specializing in healthcare financing in, you guessed it, Italy. The Chiron Special Purpose Vehicle Company bought up close to 50 million euros of unpaid healthcare invoices, including bills originating from Calabria and other parts of southern Italy. Now, the ultimate buyer of the resulting bonds was the Luxembourg arm of the private Bank of Generali. The company that constructed the Chiron vehicle was CFE, a boutique investment bank with offices in London, Geneva, Luxembourg, and Monaco. And the Italian branch of E&Y, the global professional services firm, acted as a consultant on the deal. Now, at this point, there's no indication that any of the above parties had any knowledge of the Mafia involvement. So in total, about 1 billion euros of these private Italian healthcare bonds had been bought and sold between 2015 and 2019, with significant numbers of invoices actually originating from two health authorities that were under emergency administration for having full-blown Mafia involvement. The full scale of how much dirty money entered into the global financial system in this way is really impossible to quantify. Now, it's not just London that was a victim. Luxembourg was a very attractive spot, right? The Mafia family saw Luxembourg as a great place to invest and launder capital, precisely because in that country, there are financial systems and discrete coffers that are extremely attractive for those who need to stash illicit money and what are considered black funds. In 2019, after years of pressure, Luxembourg established a public database of the ultimate beneficial owners of companies registered within its borders. But the new register had a major limitation. It could only be searched by company name or registration number, which is not the most useful. It didn't allow searches for using people's names of the people who own the company, which therefore allows the owners to maintain a degree of secrecy. When the criminals open restaurants, they aim to do so with smaller companies. Why small companies? See, because small companies in Luxembourg are not required to use what's called a chartered accountant, and therefore need only provide what's referred to as an abridged report of profits and losses. So it's impossible to know the company's real finances. Now, once the account is open, guess what happens next? They open and close the business. How? Well, see, they open them with a tiny amount of capital and almost no money on the books, then let the company go bankrupt. This creates an excuse to open a bank account locally, move money in without allowing the company to get so big it attracts regulation and attention, and it just falls away. Now, this accomplishes the first goal of money laundering, which is placement. Now, placement is actually the most difficult phase of money laundering. Getting illegal funds into the financial system undetected requires entry points and ways to make the money appear legitimate. Now, what better way than with businesses like restaurants that deal in cash and thus allowing the criminals to deposit large amounts without many, if anyone, noticing? So what are the charges in the current lawsuit? Well, the Mafia family is believed to control the supply of huge amounts of cocaine entering Europe from South America and elsewhere. But the lengthy charge sheet for the hundreds of defendants goes far beyond drug crimes. It includes mafia association, murder, attempted murder, extortion, loan sharking, disclosure of official secrets, and abuse of office. Now, why is this trial so significant? The defendants are not just criminals. They include politicians, police officers, civil servants, as well as alleged members and accomplices of the mob. The highest profile criminal defendant is the alleged clan boss Luigi Mancuso, also known as the Uncle. Other defendants are said to go by nicknames such as the Wolf, Fatty, and Blondie. I swear, mob members have the funniest nicknames. But the highest profile public figure is Giancarlo Patelli, a lawyer and former senator in the ex-prime minister's Italian party. Now, we're likely to see this play out over the next 2 years, and I, for one, will be watching to see how it unfolds. I'll be sure to keep you updated, and you be sure to like this video, comment below with any questions you have, and subscribe and hit the bell notifications. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.